Hi everyone, this is Neil Malik from Knack Training bringing you Everyday Office video number 1, the fundamentals of using VLOOKUP. So if you're here because you've never used VLOOKUP before, let's get started with what is VLOOKUP and why do I care. For those of you who've already used it once or twice, you can skip forward, look at the link over on the side in order to get to the first exercise. VLOOKUP stands for vertical lookup, which would mean that if you have a big list of information, you probably want to be able to find a matching ID number or name or something like that. So for instance, if we're tracking technical support tickets, we would look down a list until we found the technical support ticket ID number that we were looking for. So we're going vertically down the list. And then when you find it, you move across that list to the right until you find the piece of data that you are interested in. So you found a ticket ID number. Now you want to know what the issue is with that ticket. Now, when you are looking for that information, VLOOKUP allows you to flex it, allows you to find either an exact match or a close match without going over. And how we decide to set that up can make different things happen for us. So let's start off by going to a first exercise here where we would want to find an exact match. As you can see here, if I enter in the office of Worcester, is that how you pronounce it? Who knows? You can see here, there's the office, and I probably want it to return 508-558-4828. And you can see here I've already got one that does exactly that. So we are looking vertically down the list on the left-hand side until we find a match. And when we do, we're looking across until we find the piece of data that's relevant to us. It's important to note that in VLOOKUP, we're always looking in the leftmost column of data for a match. It's never going to look, somewhere over on the right side of the data for a match. It's always going to be the leftmost set of information. So to work this out, we go to cell B4, go to the Formulas tab up at the top of the screen, and we hit the Lookup and Reference drop-down menu. VLOOKUP is the last entry at the bottom of that menu. So I click on VLOOKUP, and it asks me for 4 pieces of information. The first piece of information it asks me for is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a match, as you can see over here on the left, to Worcester. Worcester? Who knows? I click on that entry right over there on the left. And then it asks me where it's possible that I would be able to find that entry. What is the table array where those entries are? So for the table array, I come in here and I highlight from Sioux City down and across to the right until I get the entirety of that set of data. So in this case, it's A8 through F14. Knowing that it's going to look for the office in the first column of that data, then it needs to know how far across to go. What is the column index number of the thing that we're interested in? So if I asked you for the phone number in this set of data, and I said, what column is it in? You could say that it was in the phone number column, but if we wanted to break it down to its simplest possible entry, we could literally count up the number of columns it is until we get to the phone number column. And that's exactly what column index number is for. So I go to the office column, I count 1, address 2, city 3, state 4, zip 5, and then phone number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. So column index number in this case is the number 6. The range lookup, if you notice, it's not bolded, and that's important. Range lookup not being bolded lets you know that it is not technically a required field. But for our case here, we are absolutely using this as a required field because here's the thing. We need this to find exactly the match that we're looking for. If this office name doesn't match with any of the offices that are listed down here, I definitely do not want it to return a phone number for an address that doesn't exist. And when I go to range lookup down here at the bottom, it says right down here that range lookup is a logical value that could either be set to true or false, and that if you omit it, it's the same thing as saying that it's true. So what if we say it's true? It finds the closest match in ascending order. What if we say it's false? It only finds exact matches. So I need to go to my range lookup, and because I want it to find exact matches, I type in false right there. And as you can see, it comes up with the 508 phone number that we're interested in. I click OK. And watch as I come in here and I look for Mobile, for example. I'm a Southerner, so I know how to pronounce Mobile. Or Little Rock. There you go. You can see that it consistently finds the right phone number for that office's name. But if I type in Orlando, for example, what's going to happen here is there is no match for Orlando, and so it gives me an NA error message. For those of you who are interested to go to the next level, being able to handle this problem, being able to say, oh, there isn't a phone number for Orlando because there is no Orlando, that's something that we might want to look into a bunch of different functions for handling problems. Just for the record here, I'm using conditional formatting to highlight the fact that there is no Orlando in any of those cells. But if I type in Milwaukee, as you can see, it finds that entry and it finds the 414 phone number. So that's what we use the exact match VLOOKUP for. And we find exact matches by putting the word false as the last entry in a VLOOKUP. Let's take a look at why we would use true instead. As you can see here, I've built a little table over on the right that says any company that has contracts from $0 to $50,000 with us, this gives them our standard level contract access. Once they cross over the $50,000 mark, we give them corporate status. Once they cross over $100,000, then they get gold status. And once they cross over $250,000, they get platinum status. So of course, our contracts are very infrequently going to actually hit 0 or 50,000 or 100,000 or 250,000. So exact matches in this scenario don't make any sense at all. Instead, what I want to do is I want to find where we fall in the range. And it's important to note that these values right here are sorted in ascending order, meaning they start at the smallest at the top, they go to the biggest at the bottom. And if you notice, when I go back to that VLOOKUP, that's exactly what it asks for. So I'll go here to cell L4. I'll go to my Formulas tab at the top of the screen, go to Lookup and Reference, and choose VLOOKUP again. And once again, we have 4 pieces of information we're interested in. The first is, what's our thing that we're trying to find a match for? What is the lookup value? The thing we're trying to find a match for is the total contract value, right there in cell K4. And the place where we might find this, the table array, is cells P4 through Q7. 7, 8, 7. Now, before we move forward, recognize that for this particular function, I am going to autofill this down to get the status for my other customers. Because of that, I need to make sure that the table array is a locked reference, and I use the F4 keyboard shortcut to lock that reference. Again, what is the column index number that is the set of items that are the information we want to pull back? In this case, that's very easy. The first column has the contract level value. The second column is the one that has the status. So that is the column index number 2. Now here, note the range lookup field says, again, we could either write the word true or omit it in order to find the closest match in the first column without going over. I prefer to type in the word true here because I find that otherwise I'm very often going to have coworkers who think I did this in error and are going to fix it by putting the word false in here. By putting the word true in, I'm letting them know that I really did mean for this to be the closest match in ascending order. And as you can see there, $75,000 worth of contracts warrants a corporate level status, which is correct. So I click OK, and I autofill this down, click and drag. You can see here the corporate level status for $75,000, for $62,000, the standard level for $32,000, $10,000, and $25,000, the gold level status for $125,000, and the platinum level status for $425,000. Now, one more time, note how I'm about to break this. So if I do not sort this table in ascending order, as you see it right here, let's say that I go to my data tab and I sort in descending order instead, largest to smallest. Watch how all of those VLOOKUP functions break. See that right there? What they're basically saying here is by saying the largest without going over, as soon as you run into $250,000, that's going over, right? And so we have this problem where we have lots of NA error messages. So again, we go to the contract level, we make sure to sort A to Z in ascending order, and we can see the VLOOKUP works appropriately there. Now, many times, the way that VLOOKUP is used is not for this simple one-to-one relationship, but instead, when we decide to try to merge lists in, let's say that you were constantly getting information back from salespeople or from a database or something like that, you can see here that we have this new set of information. And the problem is that I'm not sure which of these are totally new records versus which of these are updated records. And so if I'm not sure about that, I don't know whether I can just copy and paste these at the bottom of the list or whether I need to go ahead and change one of the records that are already in there. Now you can see once again by my conditional formatting that 5 of these entries are already in the existing data. But without the conditional formatting, we wouldn't know that. So a way to handle this is to do a VLOOKUP function for the property ID number here on the left-hand side, over there in that table on the right-hand side. And if it comes back and it says, oh, this one doesn't exist, we know that we can just tack that one on the bottom of the table because it's not already there. But if it says it does exist, then we need to go find where that thing is, and we need to go ahead and fix it, or at least update it to make sure that it's consistent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a column here for the lookup sale price. And I'll just take a second here and format this the same as the other ones. Okay. Now the point of this, let me go ahead and get rid of some of this space here. The point of this is that if I look for the sale price and I can't find a matching entry, that'll let me know that I can dump it at the bottom. If I do find a matching sale price, I can compare it against the new information that I've got. So I do, once again, the Formulas tab at the top of the screen. Once again, the Lookup and Reference drop-down menu. Go to VLOOKUP. I'm looking for the value that's in cell A4, and I'm looking for that in the table array on the right-hand side, which is cells H4 down and across to K46 in this instance. And just take a moment here and note that I should press the F4 key on the keyboard in order to lock down the reference to that table on the right-hand side. As I autofill the function on the left, I want to make sure that it consistently stays locked on that data set on the right. Now for my informational purposes, I'm going to go in here and say, let's bring back the actual sale price that's in that table. So that's column 1, 2, 3, 4. So I type in the number 4 there. And then once again, I want to make sure that this is an exact match. So I type in the word false. Click OK. And I want you to note the difference here. This NA over here on the left is just the letters N/A. Here on the right, this is #NA, which is letting you know that this is an NA error message. We weren't able to find the sale price over on the right. Note again the difference here. NA written in as text versus #NA, which is the error message that lets you know that we can't find a match for this. So what this tells me is that these two entries right up here at the top are not currently in my list. This one here at the bottom is not currently in my list. Now, if I look here, this entry says that it hasn't been sold yet in both the table and the new data. This one says it hasn't been sold yet in both the table and the new data. This one says in both places that it was sold for $475,000, so I don't need to update that. But this entry right here says, oh, you know, in the previous set of data, it said that it wasn't sold yet, but now it just sold for $1.6 million. So I know that I need to go in here and change this property from NA to $1.6 million. I know there are a couple of entries that I don't need to change, and I know there are 3 entries here that I can go ahead and put in at the bottom. So VLOOKUP can be used in order to look up an exact match for an entry, to find something within a range of entries, or it can be used to compare 2 lists against one another to see what we're supposed to do moving forward. So the question of the day is, what's the most interesting thing that you've seen VLOOKUP being used for? Thanks for watching. Go ahead and like and subscribe down below if this is valuable to you. Have a great day.